Welcome back for episode 39 of the Epoch podcast. I'm your host, PerryThePig. Today we have a lot of stuff to talk about, including Falconer, but as always, I have my co-host here, Dread. Dread, welcome back.
Hello, this is Dread, and in today's video topic, we're going to be talking about how the birds aren't real today, and how Falconer, turns out, the most interesting skill for Falconer isn't even the falconry skill. At least for me anyways. I'm biased, by the way.
I think, okay, so there's so many things to talk about. So we just got the reveal. We got all information. Okay, so I guess what we're missing with Falconer, we don't have class affixes, we don't have idols, and we don't have unique items. So we're missing some information about Falconer, but we know a lot of stuff. We knew previously what the mastery looked like. We got that as a leak like maybe a week or two ago. But now we also have all the skills, all the skill tags, all the nodes in the skills, how they interact with one another. And that should be a lot of information, hopefully enough information to start coming up with some sweet builds. Is there going to be a Falconer build that doesn't have a Falcon?
I mean, you're gonna
I think no. I think you're
use Falcon as a buff, right?
Sure.
Since it's a minion that can't die, right?
Yeah. It can't be targeted, can't die, doesn't take damage.
Yeah, I'm sure there's like some reason to use it in that regard. But I definitely think that like you can definitely play a Falcon build with like a Falconer without falconry, right?
I think you would at the very least have it on your bar. So the Falcon doesn't show up next to you unless you have the Falcon skill on your bar as like one of your QWER things, right?
It's very similar to companions, except if companions didn't suck.
And like companions have this whole resurrection mechanic and revival stuff, and then there's a cooldown if they die. You have to build health, you have to build regen, you need like leech and defenses.
Ignore all of that.
Yeah, and this none of it. Falcon's just like, hey, I'm here. I could be your primary source of damage if you wanted. All right, so before we really get into it, I think that if you don't have Falconer, if you don't have falconry on your bar, if you don't have a bird next to you, I think you shouldn't be playing Falconer. Like, I mean, at the very least, it's got to be there for buffs.
My opinion is like that is true, but not that true. That like it's true, but it's like not that like important. Because if you look at like the Falconer passive tree, right? We can look at the Falconer passive tree. A lot of it is all defensive stuff. As it currently stands right now, Rogue is in no lacking of like offensive modifiers. You can get plenty of damage like everywhere in terms of like Umbra Blades, in terms of like all these other skills, right? For the most part, that it's so much damage that you can completely ignore Blade Dancer if you wanted to and just focus on Falconer, which has the better defensive package, right? In general, because you can go one-handed and a shield, you get glancing bolt. Essentially, all the people who are pushing Blade Dancer right now would just flip over to Falconer because it would just be better in terms.
And you would really do that even though you don't have increased armor on Falcon hit?
Yeah, because
I think the increased armor on Falcon hits good.
No. You can that's the reason. Like you bring that, right?
But you need a Falcon there. Dread, you need a Falcon for that.
Yeah, you put it on the bar. Like,
that's my point. That's my argument.
Oh, well, my point is like it. Even though my point is without the Falconer point, even without Falconer, we'd still go Falconeer because of the passive tree. It's not the bird, it's the passive tree because of how much defenses you get out of it. And last Epoch is currently, in a ZDPS meta where all you care about is not dying.
As long as you're not dead, they'll die before you.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly. And
so
Falconer definitely shows that off.
So do you think that you could play a Falconer and not have a bird sitting there next to you?
Yeah, easily. Yeah,
I think that's wrong. Yeah. I think that will not exist. I can't. Okay,
I'll do it.
We will continue. We will continue to argue about this, but let's keep going into like what the rest of the Falconer is. Let's go over the mastery a little bit. Let's go a little bit over the skills. We'll talk about Zizarin having some excellent, not really cosplay. He just went out and met a bird, and then the bird flew to him, and it was such an excellent introduction to like the Falconer.
That was a real bird? Are you sure, Perry? I think it was a mechanical one.
I do love that we have nodes in the skill trees that are called birds aren't real. I think that's just wonderful. We've had some real good puns over Warlock and Falconer. I think that's great. But yeah, so big props to the Maxwell team and to Zizarin for putting this out in a timely manner, for getting all the information out there, for having some excellent footage available, so we can see exactly how these skills work along with their like different specs in the skill tree. That was great.
And
Love
putting
that.
it all in one spot.
Yeah, it was a really good presentation. It was like good conversation between the Maxwell guys and Zizarin. I like to see what they did there. All right,
I was happy I could go through and read everything and understand what the class was. That was great.
Oh, it was good. It was a good one.
That was amazing.
We've talked about the Falconer passive tree, or the mastery in the past. The mastery, kind of boring. It's got really good defenses in it. Offensively, kind of boring. Has your opinion changed on that? Now that we have all the skills, has anything changed?
I think it fits the falconry playstyle in general. Like the passive tree works really well for it because of the fact that, like, since the falcon can't actually die, right? All you need to do is just make sure you don't die, and Falconer definitely does that. As long as you're not holding a two-handed weapon, you'll do great.
As long as you're not holding a two-handed weapon. So there does seem to be like a lot of shield stuff that goes on here. You could build a shield and then have block chance. You have block effect per dexterity, which is very cool. But then you also can convert all of your block chance into glancing blow chance. Yeah. So if you want to be capped on glancing blows, that seems like a great way of scaling your defense.
Like, I'll be honest, if you scrubbed out all the words that said Falconer, right? You just scrubbed out all those nodes that said Falconer, and then you proposed this to me as the Forge Guard rework, I would have believed you.
Oh, it's got like two-handed melee. It's got spears, it's got attack speed, it's got like, percent increased armor.
Ignore all the Falcon stuff and you just showed me the rest of it, I'd be like, wait a second, this is just Forge Guard but better with that.
Forge Guard does have like some dexterity scaling stuff. And like instead of dodge, you gain armor.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
What is dexterity just like the weird stat that other skills that other classes get? Like it's the primary stat here, but it also like scales your percent chance to cast Harvest on Chaos Bolt hit as a warlock.
Yeah.
And it also gives you like block chance when you're playing, or armor when you're playing a Forge Guard. Dexterity is weird.
I think dexterity, like, okay, so I just want to let you know when I say this, I am very well aware if they buff dexterity, it would make Rogue ridiculous, right? But I'm pretty sure that they would need to like buff dexterity just a little bit, because after remember Dodge Potion?
I started playing at the very end of Dodge Potion.
Okay, so like Dodge Potion was essentially the way to play Dodge for a while as a defensive layer, and ever since they removed that, Dodge has been in this weird spot where you only play Dodge if you accidentally get it, like with like Swarm Blade or something, right? It's never something you invest into because the attribute bonus on the dodge is so low. Like for instance, like 4 flat dodge isn't really that much in comparison to like 4% armor or like 4% ward retention. It's not the same amount because of the way the current dodge stuff works.
Yeah,
right?
yes. The hold up with dodge right now is you can't get enough flat dodge. And percent dodge is fine, more dodge is fine, but like you need something that gives you flat dodge, because building that in your gear is like it's such a small number numerically.
And the problem here is like to get flat dodge, you'd have to invest into your suffixes, and well, I'm not going to be running around as a Falconer with 1k HP, I'll tell you that much, with like 70% dodge. Like I'm actually going to build dodge because I don't want to get touched by any amount of dot damage and instantly fall over. So I think ever since they started putting all of that dot damage everywhere, like you noticed that too, right?
Yeah, but like we also have more and more ways of mitigating that. Like we saw like the Rune Master release with a new glove affix, like percentage of your armor applies to mitigation for damage over time.
Definitely not enough to make it like worth to build dodge right now. I think the biggest reason why dodge fell off in favor, significantly so, is because of like just all the dot damage, and like, you know, it's like the same Forge Guard problem. It's like, I have all this armor, but I'm just gonna fall over to a dot. Thankfully they've been fixing that, but for dodge we still don't have that solution.
Do you like this node?
Which node?
I'm gonna read it out loud. It's called Outlander's Tenacity. I'm hovering over it. It says you have an additional dodge rating and you gain a portion of your maximum health as endurance threshold if you've not been hit recently. So in the past 4 seconds.
I love nodes like that.
I love this node. It's so
what
good.
benefits you from playing like dots and stuff. So like for instance, imagine if you're standing inside of like a dot like pool or whatever. This would apply to you even though you're not getting hit, right? So this would still apply. So like if you hit like an Erdurla dot pool, this would save you, if that makes sense. So I like stuff like this.
This also really rewards you for having like an active play style. You're avoiding things, you're using shift defensively, you're trying to like avoid as many small hits as possible. Yeah, I love this. It's great.
I like this first time chatter. Last Epoch is for boomers. I'm like 25, man. Am I a boomer now? I'm like 25.
I got bad news for you, buddy.
Oh God, I'm old. Ugh.
All right, so we're gonna talk about skills because skills are like the new stuff that we just got access to yesterday.
We can talk about the actual skills.
We're gonna keep this in the back of our mind. Are spears back on the menu?
No.
But
what made you think that?
Well, we have spear nodes.
Okay, so the thing is, it's funny because like we have stuff like Judicator, which is a very good spear, and it's cool that it's a spear. But imagine if it was a different kind of weapon, right? Right. Well, although I think for spear with the spear synergy, I think a while back, remember Perry when they said that like they don't want to buff the base type of weapons, they want to give classes more things to do with those weapons.
I don't mind that, sure.
I don't mind it either, as long as it's not what sharpest point is. If it's more like instruments of torture or whatever that node is called in profane form, or like blade dancers, that's fine. But when it's like sharpest point, I'm just like, I'm never going to equip a spear again.
Sure, I hear you.
Yeah.
New unique. Are we gonna have a new unique? Maybe there's gonna be like a new unique spear that drops.
Oh, there's so gonna be a unique spear that drops. I can confirm that. There's
what skill do you want to start with? Do you want to start with the skill that you get at level 15, falconry?
We can talk about falconry.
Or do you want to talk about the 2 skills that are available to blade dancer and marksman? Or do you want to talk about like the class specific skills?
Everyone wants to see the burb. Let's talk about the burb.
We're not gonna watch the video. The video's fine. I guess I will link this to Twitch chat in case you haven't already seen it.
Yeah,
but if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, you can always look this up.
It'll be in the description of the podcast as well.
Perfect. All right. So on YouTube. This is the falconry skill. What catches your eye here? What do you want to talk about first?
Falconry. So the coolest thing in falconry by far is the fact that since it can't die, right? You can make it just be kind of like a stat stick for you if you want it to be. It's very utilitarian. You can either make it do damage or you can make it be utilitarian. Like for instance, Falconer's Mark specifically. So there is currently a build that I play every so often. It's called Hail of Arrows Crit. And turns out Falconer's Mark would be absolutely insane poggers with a build that's like that. Now, of course, you can't get Hail of Arrows, right, with Falconer, but like that kind of one big hit style of build, that would work really well with Falconer's Mark.
So when I think about like the minimum that you would want when you're playing a Falconer build, like to me, you want to have a Falconer. You don't have a Falcon sitting next to you, because if you don't have a Falcon next to you, why are you really playing Falconer? Because that's my opinion. But like the minimum viable would be like you have falconry, you're speccing it, it's giving you a handful of buffs, it applies a Falconer's Mark. Next to it, we have this node that says your Falcon's normal hits have a chance to inflict Falconer's Mark. And it's like every once in a while, you just deal double damage because 100% more damage is double damage. And it can fear enemies away from you. It has a kill threshold on it. You can incidentally give it some of your damage, like you added melee, added throwing, added bow. You can incidentally give it some of your crit. You can incidentally give it some of your throwing attack speed, you know, for whatever particular build you're playing. And like, you don't have to use the skill. You don't have to use Falcon Strikes. It can just be a bird that flies around next to you and provides some buffs. And like, to me, that's like the minimum, the bare minimum of playing a Falconer build.
Yeah, I think the coolest node by far is obviously the Black Quiver node, Dark Plumage, where you get a 20% chance for a black arrow every time Falconer hits something.
I don't know if you're kidding or not.
I'm being slightly sarcastic, but this is definitely the kind of node that we need to see in the future to make Dark Quiver actually useful.
So Black Arrow's Dark Quiver, Black Arrow. People don't like it because they don't like casting it, and they don't like this mini game of like going around and picking up the black arrows. As somebody who actually uses Dark Quiver, it's really not frustrating. Like they're just on the ground, and sometimes they're in front of you, and sometimes you walk over them. And they can give you health, they can give you frenzy, they can give you a bunch of glancing blow chance, they can give you % increased damage, they can give you more damage. Like I think the addition of something like this, it actually made me go back and double check whether you can actually get Quiver as a Falconer. Because I thought it was only marksman, but you can actually use it.
Yeah, well, the problem with Dark Quiver right now is like Black Arrow Apologist. I know, right? The only usage right now, for the most part, for Dark Quiver are builds that fire once every once in a while and never like fire.
Hail of arrows, done.
Right?
Yep.
Like hail of arrows, essentially, and that's like the biggest problem. I think the biggest problem by far with like Black Quiver would be just being able to have extra amounts of Black Quivers.
Have more than one.
And
Absolutely
this node
agree with
could
you.
say 20% chance to give you a black arrow or whatever in your quiver. That would be fine. I would like that.
Yeah. So if Dark Quiver, Black Arrow, if Dark Quiver, once you pick up one arrow, you have to use that arrow before you pick up another arrow. And like that's so limiting. If they ever change it so that you can have like a maximum of like 2 or 3 or 4 carrying at a time, so that you can go like boom, 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 shoot 4 of them juiced up at a time, it would be so much more usable, so much more popular.
I always make this joke when this topic comes up. I'm like, wow, that's a really big arrow considering you can only have one in your quiver.
What other nodes here stand out to you? I've got something that I want to talk about, but you go first.
Yeah. Okay. I like the one node. Where is it? Here it is. Train to hunt. A portion of your highest of your global increased melee damage, throwing damage, increased bow damage now apply to all your Falconer's damage. This is a really cool node because there's a lot of different ways of utilizing this, right? You can scale % melee damage with smoke bomb. You can scale throwing damage % with smoke bomb as well, right? That's like an easy like 300-400% increased damage for your Falconer. Plus the less 75% or whatever, right? But like smoke bomb plus this is going to be an insane.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be stats on your gear. It can be stats that you're gaining dynamically as you're killing stuff using smoke bomb.
It kind of like brings in that cohesion more and more, right? Like if you're playing a Falcon build and you look at this node, oh, I could give my Falcon 1,000,000,000% damage if I just sit inside my, my smoke bomb.
And like you don't have to be like a minion damage build because there's so many things in like the entire Falconer mastery and like this falconry node or the falconry skill itself that give the bird a portion of your damage. I'm not going to show this on the screen, but I have a complete list of everything that the bird gives you, or sorry, everything that you can give the bird based on your stats.
Oh, that's funny. That's
6, 7,
cool.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. There's 20 different ways that you can scale its damage based on your stats without ever using the word minion, which is cool. I like that.
I think what it might lead up to be, I've done this before, where you take 2 different scaling measurements, like whatever, right? And you use them both, one for clear, one for single target. So like, for instance, a long time ago, I played a build with Lich where it was like Infernal Shade plus Ignite Hungering Souls, where I played spell damage over time, Infernal Shade for clear, right? Because that's all it's good for a Lich. And then, of course, there's Ignite Hungering Souls, which does so much ungodly amounts of single target, which I probably shouldn't be talking about this while Reimer's in the chat, but it does so much ungodly amounts of single target that you could stop investing into your Hungering Souls damage and invest into your Infernal Shade damage so that it can clear for you, because Hungering Souls is not good at clear. The idea here is this is the same concept with Falconer, where you can invest into your own damage, and maybe through some shenanigans and messing around with Falconer, you can get it so Falconer can be your clear, right, with one of these skills, with like Dive Bomb or whatever, and then just use something else for single target, right? Like you can very easily do that. Like you can essentially play a build where, and for the most part in Monoliths, you just mess around with Falconer, right? With falconry in the monos.
You just like click Falcon strikes every once in a while. You just keep moving, keep up the speed. Yeah, and then you just play of course, like whatever you end up using for single target, right? At that point. The things that I don't like about minion builds, and this might be a shocker if you're brand new here, but I tend to not like minion builds but like you got to build regen, you got to build health, you got to micromanage them, and then like if a monster jumps on you, you have to like, oh no, minion, come help me, and like you'd like micromanage the minion over, like you need to run away. And Falcon really bypasses all of that. You don't need defenses, you don't need minion health, minion regen, minion leech, you don't need minion damage. You just play a normal build, and it scales off of your 250% of your percent chance to bleed on hit. It scales off of 1,000% of your percent increased bow damage. It scales off of your crit chance, your crit multi, and like this is awesome. This is the kind of minion build that even I am like, oh, maybe I'll play minion build someday.
A big thing that was brought up a while back, Misha and I were talking about minion builds and their viability and like high corruption, because one of the biggest problems with minion builds in general right now is when you start scaling corruption properly, when you start going up high, the enemy's damage scales so fast that you simply can't invest into minion health enough to keep them alive. You literally can't keep them alive. And I don't know if you've ever played a minion build where your minions aren't staying alive. It's an awful experience. And that has caused it so that most minion builds are not high corruption viable in general. Like nobody wants to push.
Well, then you have flame wraiths who's off screen.
Or your flame wraiths,
and they don't have the problem because they're off screening stuff. Yeah.
You're either playing flame wraiths or you're playing a bomb, which doesn't die, or stuff like that, right? And like for instance, I don't know if you've ever tried pushing corruption with squirrels, but eventually you get to the point where the squirrels just fall over and die every single time, right? But with Falconer, you don't have that problem, obviously. So it was just kind of funny because I was talking about it on chat the other day when I was streaming. I was like, oh, like Falconer is going to suck for corruption pushing because the Falcon's just going to keep dying and dying and dying. Oh, no, never mind.
Takes no damage. Awesome. Love it. Might even play it. Sounds very cool. I want to point something out. I've been joking about this every once in a while for the past few days because it's hilarious. This is not related to Falconer, but give me 1 minute, okay?
Yeah.
So you know squirrels?
I know they're bugged.
Squirrels have been bugged the entire time.
I had known that they were bugged this entire time. It's just like I didn't remember it until you brought it up. You know what I mean?
Squirrels?
Like, it was just in the back of my mind.
Let me bring the audience in on the joke. Squirrels have the helmet. It doubles your number of minions, but it halves their damage. It's 45% less damage. And that's a trade-off, right? Twice as many minions, but they deal half as much damage, but you got a bunch of dudes. It's good. Really good build. The 45% less damage node doesn't do anything. It's never done anything. It's just what?
It's okay, Perry.
They're just dealing twice as much damage as they're supposed to.
Perry, the birds aren't real, remember.
I love it. It's a good trade-off. It's a really good trade-off. All right, so we talked about Falconry a little bit. We talked about the nodes that stand out to us. I'm excited for trying to scale my own damage and happen to have that go into the Falcon's damage. You're excited for potentially using black arrows. Technically, maybe you're excited about... Are either of us excited about Acid Flask? Is this the buff that Acid Flask needs? Is this good? Acid Flask has damage numbers on it. It does. It has,
I mean, like... So
it's got more multipliers.
I am still on the Acid Flask hate train, by the way. While we
Me too. Go on.
Just want to let you know that. But recently, someone had DM'd me a video of them playing Decoy Bomber, but there's a node in Decoy that replaces your decoy explosions with Acid Flasks, right? And apparently, that is somewhat viable. It is somewhat usable. It does a little bit of damage. And by a little bit of damage, does a lot of damage. But that is the only time I've seen Acid Flask even remotely do anything. Like, for instance, we always joke about this, but one of the times Ziggy played the game, he started with Acid Flask Rogue, and his fight with Lugan was glorious. It was amazing. It took forever. But
so it throws Acid Flask for you every 6 seconds. It has additional charges. Whenever you use Acid Flask, it gains another charge. It'll use it again.
Yeah. I think it can be fine.
The people who play this, are they going to have a good time?
I mean, they're going to have a good time regardless because it's Falconer, and
Sure.
Falconer has been pushed significantly in terms of power creep. So no matter what they do, they'll do fine, right?
Right.
Just like Rune Master. Like I'll see people without Flame Ward spec playing Rune Master and do just completely fine because that's just how Rune Master is, right? So, but like for these nodes, like I think that there might be like I think it might be fine. Like the problem is like you got to go with crit because poison is in the bin right now. So you have to go crit. You have to go the fire crit. And I think if you go the fire crit, you'll have an okay time.
So you're gonna go like fire, crit, two-handed staff, stacking intelligence, getting fire penetration per intelligence, acid flask. That's what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Yeah?
And of course, the CT rigmarole here, where like, oh, I know something you don't, Thread. It's like, all right.
All right. Man, those pesky CT gamers. All those community testers, like, I found a secret build.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, it's going to get nerfed before it comes to 1.0, so.
Yeah,
I hope so. I hope it gets
we don't include you in the conversation when we talk about these things because it's unfair.
All right,
It was funny. It's like you were talking about like, oh, I'll be like the first Falconer main. I'm like, no, you got banned from that competition as soon as you is like you're in the CT. That doesn't count.
So there's some cool stuff going on here. What skill do you want to talk about next? We have the
we
two
can
skills.
talk about the other Falconer skills. We can talk about Dive Bomb. I like Dive Bomb.
Okay, we're gonna do the two skills that are exclusive only to Falconer, and then we'll backtrack and do the skills that any rogue can do.
The actual skills I like.
Okay. So you want to say Dive Bomb?
Yeah, Dive Bomb I like.
So
out of the three Falconer skills, right?
Sure.
Dive Bomb's my favorite.
So Dive Bomb has a node that rewards you for using a two-handed spear. And it says, if you're using a spear, you can Dive Bomb as well. It counts as a movement skill. And this, unless I'm mistaken, this is the only payoff for using a two-handed spear other than the mastery.
So what's going to happen?
Which sounds so weird to me. That's so goofy,
So what's going to happen is you're going to use the spear, right? You're going to use the spear.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to use the traversal here.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the meteor chickens is going to hit you and you're going to die.
Mm.
And then that's going to be the extent of your gameplay.
That's
using
brutal.
The spear. Yes, that is very brutal. But yeah, so the other nodes that actually do something in this tree, there's one I really like, Cloud Gatherer. I pointed it out in a video that I was talking about. So it's a node that makes it so that whenever your Falcon lands inside your smoke bomb area, it makes it last longer. This is really good because you remember when they nerfed the Shadow Dagger smoke bomb stuff and they made it a chance.
Wow. Okay. Sure. I hear you.
So right now, as it currently stands, on average, you get around like 3 stacks of Shadow Dagger, right? Obviously, that was very purposely intended, right? Obviously.
Okay.
So
you're gonna play Smoke Bomb, Shadow Dagger, Dive Bomb, to make your Smoke Bomb last longer, so that it applies Shadow Daggers, and then you're gonna hit with Puncture.
Applies 4 stacks. Well, yeah, you just do the net trap puncture thing for single target. Yeah, but yeah, you do this for clear. You just Dive Bomb on top of your Smoke Bomb, and then it has enough duration to actually apply 4 stacks of Shadow Daggers. And if it doesn't because it's RNG, then you just go cry in a corner. But it's okay. You'll still be doing more damage than the Spear Falconer mains.
So your build is to cry in a corner. Okay.
Yeah, the Smoke Bomb idea would be great, and even then, like the actual utility from this node is really strong as well. Because like turns out, guys,
Smoke Bomb is good.
Smoke Bomb's a really good build. It's a really good skill, right? Smoke Bomb's a really good skill.
So I'm surprised you didn't call out like one. I feel like there's so many interesting nodes that aren't Smoke Bomb.
There's a lot of interesting.
Yeah, like what about Talon Knives? This thing's like if you're dual wielding, 150% of your weapon stats go to your Falcon's Dive Bomb. Yeah, that's a lot of damage you're giving to your Falcon's Dive Bomb. It's so much.
But that is a lot of damage.
Your Falcon's added damage applies at 500% effectiveness, and it gets both of your weapons at 150% value. That's huge.
Yeah, that is a lot of damage. That is correct. Yeah. Yeah, I like that node. That's a cool node, actually.
Good node. You got to dual wield though, and dual wielding is a little bit funny because normally if you're playing a blade dancer, you're happy to dual wield. You can dual wield swords, and then you get glancing blow chance. But then with Umbral blades, you want to use a dagger.
You don't want to be dual wielding as a Falconer with the block stuff, definitely.
Well, now I mean you can just convert all your block chance to glancing blows. You don't need a shield to block.
I guess like with the I guess with that specifically, yeah. But yeah, it's just where it's this conversation. It's the same conversation about you're gonna die anyway, so it doesn't matter. Like your build's cool. It does a lot of damage, but you're gonna fall over, right? It's that same conversation.
Well,
with the dual wield thing.
Listen, in the intro video that Zizarin and the Maxwell team played, Volka highlighted a build that he was playing with.
Yeah.
What was the skill? He was explosive trap converted into a bow skill.
Oh yeah. That was
proccing detonate. And he's like, "Oh, the build's awesome. It's so much fun. It's literally made out of paper. It's extremely squishy." But like that was a marksman. And we're talking about Falconer builds. Like I don't know. I think Falconer builds can get some defense.
No, I think it'll be fine. Yeah, I think the problem is like I said, the power creep has been pushed so far that it would be hard to not do well as a Falconer right now.
Okay. So tell me about these nodes down here. I think a lot of people are going to be interested with Dive Bomb with the Shadow Falcon. Just saying the word Shadow Falcon.
Fun stuff, yeah.
Saying the word Shadow Falcon makes me feel like I'm 10 years old again. I'm edgy. You know, I'm just like I'm wearing anime t-shirts. I'm holding like a big stick, pretending it's a sword. I feel so edgy just reading these nodes. You got Shadow Falcons. Birds aren't real. The Shadow Falcons can use like other skills for you. They scale based on how many Umbral Blades are on the ground. You don't have to have spinny Umbral Blades. You could just have normal Umbral Blades in the ground. You could have like 40 Umbral Blades in the ground.
Normal Umbral Blades are going to be useful again?
That's interesting. That is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it.
It's going to be I mean, I think that there will be a build where you go for the ultimate dive bomb, right? That will exist. It will be fun. Oh. People will play it. I think it'll be cool.
I think you're going to see some excellent. I think you're going to see excellent YouTube videos of people like one-shotting bosses.
Yeah, if I play actual Falconer, like with actual like falconry, right? I'm definitely going to do birds aren't real build.
Yeah. Like this seems so spicy. If you wanted to like one-shot tier 4 Jura, I think that Falconer and like using nodes like this
kind of like. Yeah, it's like the same situation that like Lethal Mirage is in and Hail of Arrows and all that.
Yeah,
it's like the same kind of concept. I like that Rogue is pushing towards this like combo-y play style. I just wish the other side of Rogue, like the spammy play style, was like a little bit more invested.
Well, you like Lethal Mirage on Blade Dancers, and what are those nodes called?
Combo stuff.
The nodes at the very beginning of the Blade Dancer skill tree. I never build around them, but I know other people build around them, and when they do, they get tons of damage out of them. What are they called?
Oh, the combo nodes? Oh, those nodes suck.
Like, is it flow? Is that it?
Yeah, flow. I mean, flow is like just another stat, but like the only time you'd use it is if you were using something like Umbral Blades, where like it swaps between different kinds. Like you would never actually go out of your way to try to get 5 flow stacks when you're.
But like that kind of a combo playstyle. Like that is what they're leaning toward here. This is like big brain stuff.
Flow is yikes, but the actual concept of the build is fun.
Yeah. We're going in that direction. We're talking about design philosophy, not like would you use these nodes. We're like this is what EAG is pushing toward, and I like that direction a lot.
So let's see here, some other notes about Dive Bomb here.
Oh, we've got the Featherfall stuff.
You can put so much cooldown on this thing. That's crazy.
Oh, you can like make it a longer cooldown.
You can have a very long cooldown on this, but it's going to deal a very large amount of damage. I like that.
But there's like cooldown refund too, isn't there? Cooldown.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. But like you gotta invest into it. I'm fine with that.
Deal. Sounds great.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh no, they capped another node. The Exsanguinate Strike. No. Wait, how come like the Umbral Blades node isn't capped, but the Bleed node is capped? What? That's confusing.
You know, I was gonna make a joke about the uncapped stuff. There's a lot of stuff in both Warlock and in Falconer that have no caps for how much damage you can get out of them.
It's so weird because
like this one randomly does have a cap on it.
Yeah. Like you'll look at the node like Midnight Aviary, right? But then you go to like Summon Bear and you see the node that's like capped on it with like the 30% more damage for bleed or whatever, or for melee. It's like it's such a weird like dichotomy seeing Midnight Aviary in the same tree as like Exsanguinating Strike. Because before we could say that like, you know, like, oh, like someone else designed this skill, right? Now it's like, now we have Exsanguinating Strike and Midnight Aviary in the same tree. And I'm just like, Huh.
But like you can pretty easily get like 200 stacks of bleed on something.
Oh, I know.
Like two,
I
three,
know.
four.
It's just like, but you can also shoot out a lot of umbral blades too, right? you can have a lot of fun with that. So like, it's just kind of like, why is this where they're like uncapped and this is not the uncapped? Now, obviously, the bleed would be insane if it was uncapped, obviously, right? But still, it's just like, it's weird that that's like the priority, right?
Mm-hmm. All right, we talked about this skill. I want to move on to aerial assault. Aerial assault is the second of the skills that are only Falconer. So
This
these
is
are like
the skill that I know the least about, by the way.
so these are the top half of the Falconer skill tree. You can't do this as a marksman. You can't do this as a blade dancer.
Mm-hmm.
So what is aerial assault? You said you haven't really read this thing.
Yeah, you'll have to explain it to me.
So aerial assault is a traversal skill. It doesn't have the traversal tag. I think it's supposed to have the traversal tag. Maybe a Devin check and clarify that for me, but it's a movement skill. So you do a little jump, and then at the end of that jump, the bird does like a floof of damage. It uses wing burst at target location. So you move, you deal damage at the end.
I see it now.
A couple notable things from this are it can drop umbral blades.
Oh, okay. That's all I need to hear.
Okay, but not only can it drop umbral blades, which can apply shadow daggers, but it can also apply shadow daggers.
Oh, it actually can apply shadow daggers? Oh,
yeah,
God.
so it can apply shadow daggers, and then it also applies shadow daggers from umbral blades, which is just if you want the easiest build ever, just get aerial assault, go shadow daggers, click on these two nodes, have fun. How could it possibly be bad? How could it possibly be bad?
How the meme continues. It was funny. So speaking of shadow daggers, right? Someone was like talking to Mike in the Discord about shadow daggers.
Go on.
He's like, I don't like shadow daggers. I'm gonna play this instead. I'm like, Mike,
was that Mike talking, or was that?
Yeah, it was Mike. It was just funny. It's like I can't wrap my it was like something like that, and it was just like it just kind of made me laugh because of how shadow daggers is.
Do you think shadow daggers getting nerfed 1.0? They've nerfed around them in the past. They nerfed them directly a long time ago.
Yeah, it's just like this is my problem with Rogue. Okay, in general. Okay, we can start the Rogue like complaints. My problem with Rogue right now, other than Falconer, before Falconer came in the game, right? By the way, this has changed it a lot, by the way. But before Falconer came in, Rogue had this problem where it was feast or famine, okay? It was either you had really, 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 really good skills and really good builds, and then you had really, really, really bad builds, right? You had stuff like Shadow Cascade versus Acid Flask. You had stuff like Shadow Daggers versus the new version of Flurry, right? You have stuff like Lethal Mirage, Hail of Arrows, and then you have stuff like Sinner Strike, right? And you have this dichotomy where it's like it's a 50-50 chance of a new player starting the game, and they choose a skill, and whether or not they have a meh time or a really, really good time, right? And that's why Shadow Daggers has been such a problem, is because if they nerf Shadow Daggers, right, then that makes it even worse, because now there's one less really, really good build. Now there's only a few very, really good builds, and there's a bunch of really, really bad builds, right? So, but thankfully, with Falconer coming out and the two specific skills, like Net and Explosive Trap, by far are some of the best skills they've ever added to Rogue, by far, because they fill in those niches of skills that aren't absolute trash and are good and are utilitarian. But from what I'm seeing so far, they don't look absolutely busted broken. Like, I look at Net and I'm like, wow, this is really cool, really strong. But I'm not going to delete T4 Drill in like 0.25 seconds, right? Explosive Trap, I'm not entirely sure if it'll be broken or not. We'll see. But it looks very strong at the very least. I'd rather something be really strong and then them nerf it after that than it be really bad and then have to buff it. Because
I don't know if it's a hot take or not, but I completely agree with you. I would rather something release at 120 or even 150% strength and then be nerfed, rather than being introduced at 50% strength and then being buffed afterward.
Yeah,
especially for 1.0, like let's have fun.
Yeah, and thankfully thankfully, explosive trap and net will essentially reinvigorate my love for Rogue after me hating on Rogue for such a long time because of the dichotomy, right? But
I hear you. All right, let's talk about the rest of this. You're already talking about the 2 other skills. Let's chat about what aerial assault does, what it can do, and then we'll move on to those 2 skills. So aerial assault, you can play shadow daggers, which is great. Somebody in chat actually said, I thought you needed to use a dagger to apply shadow daggers. Only with Umbral Blades, and Umbral Blades is the best way of applying shadow daggers. But no, they don't actually have anything in common. So there's that. Aerial assault on the top right side. Let's see, what does this stuff do? Damage to bosses. After landing, your ballistas prioritize stuff around you, and they scale off intelligence. So there's like this intelligence sub-theme, which maybe matters if you're going low life or something, but you can deal more damage per intelligence, as well as gaining attack speed.
Too bad those ballistas don't get your fire pen, huh?
Yeah, it is weird. Maybe they do. Maybe there's a new unique item that says they get their fire penetration.
Also, now that I've seen everything, right? Now that I've seen everything, okay? I've seen all the skills. Speaking of that,
go on.
All the skills, the passives. What is that 2% fire pen thing doing?
Absolutely no idea. Totally no clue why there's fire penetration per intelligence.
Just so random.
Absolutely strange. I don't get it.
Now we can continue.
So someone in chat was saying aerial assault doesn't make you immune while you're traversing. That means I hate it. So there's nodes on the bottom right that do a lot of good stuff. They give you more dodge. I think you have more global dodge rating, 320% more dodge rating.
Oh, that's definitely how you make dodge work.
Yeah, 320% more. And then it also gives you like some extra damage. It synergizes with some other skills here. Some interesting stuff that I want to call out is that it says using this recovers a portion of your missing health. So 50% of your missing health gets recovered.
I like nodes like that.
And then you can make it convert to ward instead. So if you're missing 99% of your health, and then you use this skill, you gain 50% of that flat health as ward.
Oh.
So like.
Oh, I see.
Normally, if you're thinking about exsanguinous and low life stuff on a rogue, you're thinking about Death's Door, which is a node that's specific only to Blade Dancer. But this aerial assault is
whoa.
Hear me out. The damage reduction that you get from Death's Door is Blade Dancer specific.
Yeah.
This skill is Falconer specific.
Yeah, that's the reason to play Falconer. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't know if it's the reason to, but it's definitely something that makes me think about going exsanguinous.
You know what the actual reason to play Falconer? What the heck is this shit? You look at Refreshing Resolve. What? Oh my god, that's insane.
Recovers a portion of your missing mana.
Aerial assault. Look at the
you can just like spam this. Pew 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 pew.
Yeah. You know that like that's really good, right? Because like Rogue doesn't have that much in terms of mana sustain, and you can stack max mana on Rogue and benefit from this. So like for instance, let's say you had like 800 mana, which is like a normal amount.
A lot of mana.
Builds. Yeah, like 800 mana. That's like 81 mana on skill use. Imagine using this every 2 seconds.
I think even with less than 800 mana, I think this node is very good.
Obviously, yeah. But the thing is, right? It says missing mana recovered.
Yeah.
Right. Now, this actually works really well with the one specific setup where you run the traversal skill thing, where you run, you know what I was talking about, the traversal. The experimental affix that gives you ward based on your missing mana.
Oh, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. Ward gain on missing mana when you use a traversal skill.
And then you get the missing health recovered, and then you convert it to ward. So like you can stack ward and HP, mana and HP, and like double benefit from this.
Okay,
that'll be interesting.
So there's 2 more parts of this skill tree that I want to highlight. One is very important. You got to note this. It has synergy with caltrops, and like we're just gonna read these, but we'll talk about them later.
What are caltrops? What do they do?
Caltrops are like they're like little spikes that you drop on the ground. Enemies walk over them and they take damage. So caltrops from all sources have a chance to bleed. Caltrops from all sources do this. Caltrops from all sources do that. So this is like it's kind of like a caltrop skill. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, if I would like play like the net trap puncture caltrop,
you would spec into this for sure.
I would spec into this, and like instead of having Falcon, like I would spec into this, and then just have Falcon on my bar,
and then like you
the
shift
caltrops damage.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable thing to do. The last part of the aerial assault skill tree is the left side. So it moves you, and then it deals damage at the end. The damage at
That's
the
that
end.
feather storm thing.
Yeah, you can turn it into like a damage over time thing. So you can like, I don't know, damage per dexterity, dodge rating per dexterity.
They're dropping black arrows too.
Drops black arrows? Sure, I guess.
Oh, pog.
There's some stuff over here. I don't know if any of this is good, but it's very cool.
Yeah. Hey, look, the poison note. That might actually make this viable. Oh, pog.
Do enemies have to be moved when damaged, or do they damage static stuff when they fall on them? They damage static stuff when they fall on them as well. But like they take more damage if they're moving.
Yeah, they do both.
Yeah. Do you know they hit damage? We don't know they hit damage of caltrops yet.
Yeah, we don't know any of that, sadly.
All right. So that's basically what aerial assault's doing. It also, let's see, where's the fun aerial assault node? Isn't there something that's like super fun?
Oh, I like Umbral Bremen, so you can like get some shadows on kill and stuff. That's cool. No,
where's the node that moves you farther based on dexterity? That node's hilarious.
Oh, that node's inside a net.
That's in net?
Yeah, it's an.
I love that node. Where is it?
Acrobatic, yeah. It's such a fun node.
Is it this thing? Yeah. You jump further when using net. Jump distance per dexterity 3%. That's hilarious.
That
I cannot wait. Okay, so we moved on. We talked about the 2 skills that are specific only to Falconer, and now we're talking about the 2 nodes that Blade Dancer and Marksman also have access to. We just talked about caltrops in the aerial assault skill tree, so let's talk about net next.
My favorite skill.
Yeah, so net, first things first, kind of tying the room together. If you're playing like a bleed build or maybe a caltrop build, you're going to spec aerial assault because it benefits your caltrops from all sources, and you'd also spec into net because there's these nodes here that say when you use it, you drop caltrops from all sources, deal damage in a large area, improves caltrops base critical strike chance. If net hits an enemy, you throw caltrops at them. So there's some like good generic stuff that you'd be interested in taking if you're interested in like bleed or caltrop stuff. But
I can't wait. I can't wait till I play a net build with like caltrops and stuff, and I kill an Oribus or something with it. And I'm
I kill this. Like he stepped on some nails.
Yeah, I kill this interdimensional like time traveling being like God with like a bunch of jumping jacks.
And you're like the kid from Home Alone.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, get him.
I'll be like, get jumping jacked, kid.
So you keep talking about net. And yes. What are you interested in here? Are you interested in jump distance per dexterity, or is there something else that catches your eye?
That is interesting, but that's
go on.
Now, okay. So net, normally the way net works is you throw it and you leap backward and it throws a net and it like immobilizes an enemy and it's like a throwing attack and it's a hit. First things off, more throwing skills. Thank you.
Love it.
Second thing off, the walking backwards animation, I hate it, by the way. So thankfully, what we're going to do is the first node we're going to grab is bold throw, right? It no longer flips you back, which makes net throw into a viable skill for damage. Then there's a node after that, net trap, which throws net traps. Like they're like traps, you throw them on the ground and like they walk over them and stuff, which is cool, right? Then you sever tricks, right? So you throw 3 traps at once, right? Remember, all these traps they hit, right? They have their own hit portion. Then there's spear trap, which is like, oh my god, it's such like I'm so happy because I love puncture. By the way, like puncture is one of my favorite skills ever, and the only problem with puncture is it's not really viable as its own damage skill. But with spear trap here, trap uses the puncture, so you throw out like three net traps, they trigger, they do the net hit, and then they'll do the puncture hit, right? And that will give you like the bleeding flurry stacks. I went and checked the nomenclature. You don't get the mana though on hit because it says directly use, but yeah, like they'll do puncture for you, right? And you can get all the bleed stuff, right? And then you can grab all the nodes in the left side of the tree where you get like the bleed duration, the more damage, right? Then you can grab the Trapper's Crescendo, which allows you to deal even more damage with net based on your global dodge rating. And all of that combined means that a bleed net puncture build is going to actually end up being like a really like good build. Like you're going to get to like essentially what is it like what's a net at, like when you get net it's like level 5 or something like that, like level 5 in Falconer or whatever, right? Once you get net and you get those nodes set up and then you get puncture set up, like that's going to be such an easy leveling experience, it's not even going to be funny. Like, it's gonna be great.
And then like
right?
if you're playing bleed, you aerial assault. It drops caltrops while you're running.
Yeah,
Enemies
and you can
run
drop
on
caltrops
those.
with
You,
net,
you
of
toss some
course, right?
traps.
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah.
Puncture is already really strong for leveling, but like normally as a bow character, even a melee character, you combine it with flurry, right? But like for this,
exactly.
like you can just puncture trap. Seems pretty good. There's a lot of people in Twitch chat who are talking about shadow daggers. Remember, puncture can also apply shadow daggers on hit.
Yep.
Whether you're using a bow or a dagger or a sword, you can just use this like to augment your shadow daggers or your bleed.
I played a shadow dagger marksman a while back where we used smoke bomb to apply our shadow dagger stacks,
you used
right?
what was that bow called you used?
It was shadow string. But now what we can do is we can play this on we can play this on Falconer. It'll be much more synergistic on Falconer because not only do we get the aerial assault the dive bomb to make the smoke bomb last longer, we also get a bunch of defenses for free. We also, of course, get to utilize like net with the puncture shadow dagger stuff. So instead of me attacking once with puncture, right, and applying one shadow dagger stack, I can throw net, which then applies a bunch. Now I have a question. Nobody has answered me on this yet. When I use net, can my shadows use net? Like, is there any of these skills that work with shadows, like the explosive trap? Has like anyone said anything about that? Because
I think shadows have a specific list of skills in their alt text where they tell you exactly what skills they do and don't work with.
I couldn't get any like info on that. Good. Okay. Good. I just
maybe it changes. Maybe it changes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, exactly. Like it can easily change. Like imagine you're doing
you could like sync strike into spear trap.
Yeah, imagine sync strike net spear trap with like all those extra hits. That'd be glorious.
It might work. Gotta try it on day one, right?
Oh my god, you're doing it again. What? You're doing it again. You're like
you gotta try these things. Who knows? Who knows whether these things?
Who knows whether this will be good or not?
No,
buddy.
I'm still trying to get you to play warlock builds. Don't worry.
No, I'm gonna play warlock first, then we're gonna play falconer second.
Okay. So you're really into the puncture stuff, but like, what else does net do?
What else does that do? It's just a really good buff skill. It's just a really good buff skill in general.
So you jump further, you jump forward. When you land, you drop a smoke bomb. That could be good.
You always have this weird thing with like rogue where like you have this fifth skill that you never use, right? And it's just like there. I think that's a good example of like how you would fill that slot because you have stuff like lead the hunt for the 10% more damage. You have the enemies deal less physical. You apply frailty, right? Like there's a lot of things. There's also the 40% more damage to netted enemies with Falcon, right? Like no, I haven't heard anyone talk about that. That's like a whole support gem's worth of damage in net, by the way. I was like just sitting there,
40% more damage, 40% more Falcon damage to netted enemies. Where's that?
Also, tangled and prone, enemies cannot dodge, enemies cannot avoid crits. You're gonna be playing a Falcon build, Perry, and you're gonna like get in the mono, right? And you're like, oh, chance to dodge, chance to avoid crits. No, you're just gonna throw nets on them, and then like now you ignore like half of the bad mods in the entire game, and oh god, this is gonna be a problem, isn't it? I just realized that. Imagine doing an Orvis right with like dodge and crit, and you just throw a net on him. Oh, you don't have that anymore. It's like because like you can. Like the thing is, what a lot of people don't understand is like while your Falconer's doing things, you can do things too. Right, you can, and that's like the perfect skill. It's like the perfect synergistic skill to be using while you're using Falconer, right? It's also a little bit of a flavor, right? Like you're a Falconer, you're like, oh, all right, here's the bait. You throw out the net and you catch something, right? Very, very similar to the game we were playing before.
So I want to talk about one thing real quick, and then we're going to transition to another skill. So as we're talking about corruption, we should remember, don't you guys have nets?
Exactly.
We should remember that corruption is changing. We don't have all the details yet, but like now in last Epoch, like 100 corruption is pretty easy. Then like 400, 500 corruption, like a lot of builds can get there if you're playing seriously. And like people get to 1,000 or 2,000 corruption. And all those numbers, all those like mental breakpoints in your mind will have to go out the window because corruption is changing. They are standardizing how the corruption modifiers are going to be working. Like, what does the corruption number mean? What do the echo modifiers mean? All of that's changing. We don't have information yet. So like if we say like, oh, this build can do 100 corruption, this build can do 500 corruption, we don't know. We don't know yet. All that's going to change.
Can we make a quick meme real quick before?
I love memes. What do you got?
So you know how like Runemaster has Frostwall with like the infinite flame ward node.
Go on.
And you know how like that says like it doesn't put flame ward on cooldown. Look at Into the Shadows. And hold Alt.
It only works if smoke bombs off cooldown.
Mm-hmm. And it puts it on cooldown.
Why couldn't they do this with the flame ward?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, what?
That's a great observation there, Dread.
Yeah, it's like, well, I mean, obviously that node will have to change because you can give your allies flame ward too. But still, it's just like, All
right, so we talked about. You were just saying a second ago, net is the perfect skill to be using while you're like your Falcon's doing stuff. You toss the net on stuff. Like this is the thing your play character does while your bird does stuff. I would like to enter into evidence Explosive Trap, the last of the 5 skills that we're going to be talking about. So Explosive Trap on the very bottom right corner, it's got a node that might be good. So what's this thing? It says whenever one of your explosive traps detonate,
and you can have a lot of detonations, can you?
Whenever something detonates, your Falcon deals more damage for 3 seconds. This buff can stack an unlimited number of times.
And you can perhaps, and it's per explosion too.
And you can throw multiple. You can throw like 3 or 4 of them at the same time. Like 3 of them. I think it's 3 of them at the same time. Yeah. So like you throw it once, your Falcon deals 45% more damage, and then you keep throwing for the next 3 seconds.
Yeah,
I think Explosive Trap looks pretty good as a skill that you would use alongside your Falcon.
It looks very good. Yeah,
you can throw 5 at the same time. Good lord. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Whew. All right, so Explosive Trap. What catches your eye? I know exactly what I want to talk about, but what do you want to talk about?
I like the bow node. I think that this is a return to form for the original design of Rogue, where it was the dichotomy of all these skills being used with bows or melee. And I really like that now we have a skill that is the throwing trap that can be turned into a bow skill.
That's a really good shout out.
Because that was the original pitch for Rogue, if we're not mistaken. So like it's nice to see that again, right? So it's
like
it's cool
Cinder Strike can be melee or bow, Puncture can be melee or bow, all these skills can be melee or bow, and now this one too. Yeah.
Yeah. Now the detonating arrow node, that one node's gonna be hilarious.
Like hilarious good, hilarious bad. It costs mana.
Yeah, but you can just make detonating arrow cost no mana.
If you spec into it. But then if you're specking into it, you gotta be a marksman.
Yeah, that is sadly a problem. Specking into marksman. Marksman's gonna be the new forge guard, isn't it?
Well, you could use the melee detonating arrow dagger, which has minus mana cost written on it.
I know the memes you can do.
I don't even know if it's a meme. I think
it's not even a meme. Yeah, like this just makes it like actually viable. It's just
melee detonating arrow.
Joker's blast knives and like it's like why would you ever play normal melee detonating arrow ever again? Like why?
I don't disagree.
Like don't get me wrong, I like I would rather the unique have a downside like it has, but also be good and usable. Right now it's just like, oh, you're just gonna play explosive arrow, explosive like shot. Now the funniest thing, right, is like it's gonna do a lot of damage, by the way, guys, if you're not mistaken. This is going to I'm pretty sure Perry has already messed with this. I'm sure he has, and I'm sure it does a very large amount of damage.
I mean, we've seen the highlight from Volca on the video up above with Ziz, where he's talking about like the marksman version of this, where he's specking a detonating arrow, where it's like insane damage, one shots everything, super fun to play, made out of paper. Yeah. So it's a trade-off. The node that I'd like to discuss for just a moment here is this one over here. It says explosive traps hits have a chance to shock enemies and inflict a spark charge. There's a 100% chance.
I see that node.
So every single explosive trap hit, and you throw 5 of them at a time, up to 5 of them at a time.
It's It's gonna be so much fun. That build's gonna be so much fun, man.
And then you can stack intelligence, and then you can use a two-handed spear, and then you can have fire penetration per intelligence.
Yeah, you can get, and then not use the spark charge item.
Wait, what? Wait, that sounds terrible. Why is there fire penetration per intelligence? It's so weird.
I think, I'm gonna be honest, I think that they like accidentally like flubbed up and it was supposed to say something else. Apparently Volca build was bugged in some way. Danoka, the birds aren't real.
Everything's bugged. Don't worry about things being bugged or not.
The birds aren't
1.0 is not here yet. Everything's gonna be fine. I love this. I love that they're like intelligence stacking, spark charge, explosive trap. Like
That's
you
gonna
could
be
combine this with detonating arrow. You can combine this with melee detonating arrow, or you could just throw these.
So what you do, Perry, is you play that intelligence stacking rogue, right? On Falconer, you go the low life thing, right? And then you use the aerial assault with the missing mana plus the mana on traversal use, and also the like all of that combined. That
you know what I was thinking about doing? So this is this explosive trap. This is a skill that you can gain access to as a marksman or a blade dancer. If you go blade dancer, you go exsanguinous, you go low life, you get death's door, which gives you damage reduction
get the
while
free
you're on low
base
life.
Crit,
You get the free base crit,
which
so
makes
you're really
makes up
easy
for
to
the
crit
fact
cap
that,
your spark charge.
offhand,
Exsanguinous, low life, spark charge, intelligence stacking, blade dancer. Oh, that sounds like a league starter to me.
I don't see a way to make the spark charge mines good.
What? Is that Twitch chat?
Yeah, it's cookbook.
All right.
Do you understand how this works?
I do.
You know what? Just wait for I'm sure that's gonna be Perry's starter. There's no way you're not starting this.
I think that's not a good. I think that's just about the worst starter you could play, because you need like the no life stuff. You need fragmented enigma. You're stacking intelligence.
You don't even have to like do the low life shenanigans. You could just use a rune dagger. Like you could just use a rune dagger and cap your crit that way, and like just run the offhand. Like seriously, like and then you could like maybe play Falconer and get the health on crit, right?
I could be like a normal build in the meantime, and then transition to the meme.
Use that. Well, you can play Falconer, right? And you can use the helmet with the 300% crit. Use a rune dagger, right, for the 4% base crit. And then since you're running the helmet that gives you no life leech, it doesn't matter because you have the 25 health on crit. Well, guess what? You're playing a spark charge build. You're hitting enough for that to work, right?
I was making jokes about like, oh, I'll just play a Spark Charge Warlock because Warlock has intelligence on it and Spark Charge have intelligence on it. But what if you could play a Spark Charge Falconer? Holy
I don't
shit.
know, man. I think Falconer has more intelligence scaling than Warlock. You got that juicy 2% fire penetration.
It's funny. I was trying to come up with like, what's the one way to describe Falconer? What's the TLDR? What's like the main theme here? It's like, oh, you have a bird. Sure, you have a bird. But like, there's a lot of stuff going on here, and it kind of feels like Forge Guard. We make fun of Forge Guard all the time because Forge Guard is his specialty. His specialty is two-handed, one-handed, throwing, crit, non-crit, ailments, attack speed.
The biggest difference, though, I think the biggest difference by far is Falconer has stuff like Explosive Trap, whilst Forge Guard has stuff like Smelter's Wrath. I think that's all I have to say about
and the
that.
bird really ties things together well. We have the Caltrop synergy, the bleed synergy. These skills are interacting with each other. Like, you get buffs for using one. You can like use multiple at the same time. Like, I don't know exactly what it is that makes Falconer so much better. Like, it's more modern, I suppose.
Okay.
But it's a really well designed master.
I know what we're doing, Perry. Okay, I know what we're doing. Okay, you play Explosive Traps. Okay?
I'm with you so far. Love it.
All right. You use a two-handed staff.
It sounds terrible. Go on.
Wait. Okay. Now, you stack intelligence, right? You cap your crit. You make explosive trap cost as little mana as possible, right? Or whatever. You find some way to sustain mana. I don't know how you're going to do this. Okay. You're going to do it. Then you run the Meteor Belt, right? You get the fire pen per intelligence on the staff and all that too,
Fire pen per intelligence meteor belts with a bunch of small hits from explosive traps and spark charges.
Yeah. Or whatever you end up doing, yeah. Hey,
When you're
can
stacking
happen.
mana and then you use aerial assault to get a percentage of your missing mana back.
Yeah, and the best thing is when you're at negative 200 mana, right?
Yikes.
When you're at negative 200 mana, right? The best thing will happen is you'll have the Falconer on your bar so that it can do stuff,
Well,
right? While
you're out of mana.
While you're not a build, right?
Sounds awesome, Dread. Love
We
that.
found a use for the node.
What a cool idea.
Ooh. Well, no, actually, wait. Oh, wait. Okay, I gotta read a node. One moment.
What do you got?
One moment. I gotta read a node.
As
Wait
you read that,
no
I'm going to talk
way.
about something else.
Go ahead. There's no
Dread's
way.
doing some cooking in the background, but I'm going to highlight the other things that Explosive Trap does. It can apply on melee hits. It says whenever you hit an enemy with any
wait
melee
a
attack.
second. Wait a second here. Detonating arrow no longer costs mana. Instead restores mana when you use it. God dang it. Wait, no, that says when you use it. That should work. It says when you directly use it. That's like God, they really need to like fix the nomenclature and all of this, right? It's like
Maybe
it's like,
it works. Who
it's
knows?
like, oh, we don't want to be Path of Exile. This is how you become Path of Exile. When it comes to that, okay? Like this is how it happens.
We just
different
need
meanings for the same thing.
whether you're out there still playing Path of Exile or whether you're like me where you don't log in anymore. One of the things that Path of Exile does really well is like the wording is just like the wording is so good. I love the wording in Path of Exile. It's all like
I mean, it's just like nearby.
okay, except for the word nearby. Everything other than nearby. Nearby is a meme, but like everything else is like really well worded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I miss it. All right, so what else does Explosive Trap do? This node has a 1.5 second cooldown.
Does a lot of damage.
I hate this node. Why does it have a 1.5 second cooldown? I wish it applied on every single melee hits. Then I could use like Channel Flurry.
Oh, that thing? Yeah, the hold this. It's such a fun node that like.
It is a fun node. Like okay, so you could use hold this, and you could have Shift Shadow Cascade, and your Shadow Cascade applies a Spark Charge behind you. That's really good clear speed. It is.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That would be fun.
The other node after it is called Aspect of the Hot Potato. Have you seen this node? Aspect of the Hot Potato? Like, you hit the enemy, you apply Spark Charge, they hit you, they apply the Spark Charge back to you, and then you hit them, you apply the Spark Charge back to them, and you gain damage based on how many times it passes back and forth. Why the hell is this node here? This is such a stupid node.
It's like a Looney Tunes skit.
Why is it here?
Wait, I mean, to be fair, this like I like how like Falconer is like 80% defenses, 10%. Well, no, more like 40% defenses, 40% Falconer, 10% like really strong good stuff, and then like the last 10% is just Looney Tunes.
There's some weird nodes.
Whether
nodes.
it be hold this and Aspect the Rabbit or 2% Fire Pen while holding his staff, like there's some really large Looney Tunes shenanigans going around here.
Oh. I'm gonna scroll back up. I know this is going out of order, but we're gonna go back to the Falconer passive tree. This node, as long as we're making fun of things, can I continue to make fun of this node?
Yeah, where is it?
When you use a certain ability on your bar,
oh my God.
you gain 3 stacks of Silver Shrouds, and it scales from left to right on your keyboard, QWER, based on how many points you put
That
in
node
this.
is a crime against humanity.
What a weird node! I love it. I love this node. It's terrible.
But what does that mean? Oh, it means that, okay, let me explain it for Oleezy so he understands. Okay, so imagine you have 5 skills on your bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right?
QWER, right click.
If you have 1 point in the node, then your Q gives you the Silver Shrouds. If you have 2 points in the node, your W uses the Silver Shrouds. If you have, like, you see where this is going all easy? I'm
perfect.
good.
Love it. All right, let's go back to the normal.
Like what Perry said, you could just rebind the stupid key.
And you literally save skill. Yeah. You save skill points. It's perfect. What an awful node. All right, what else does Explosive Trap do? Explosive Trap also has synergy with ballistas for some reason.
Yes. I don't know why you'd ever want to summon your ballistas this way. Although, to be fair, it is minus 50% consumption.
Well,
I can get a lot of. Okay, actually, you know what I think about it? Summoning your ballistas is ass. It's absolute ass.
Because it's slow.
Yes.
Sure.
So you can get throwing attack speed, making Explosive Trap costs no mana, and then just technically get the 50% off.
All right, you're thinking like a normal person. Now, an intellectual, I've already talked to Twitch chat about these nodes. And
Yes.
you'll note one very important thing about explosive trap is that it explodes. So you can summon your ballistas and you can spec them to also explode.
Explode. Yes,
Ah!
you can do memes. Yeah.
Twitch chat's really excited about this node.
Michael
love
Bay,
it.
Michael Bay Falconer.
Just everything blows up.
Yeah.
Cool. What else is here? You can turn into a bow attack. The bow attack stuff looks hilarious. You throw traps. Your traps throw traps. Convert it to cold. Yeah. All right. I think that about does it, right?
Yeah. Oh my god, explosive trap is gonna be like the same thing as like chthonic fissure, where it's just gonna enable like just so much shenaniganry, right?
I love it.
Imagine you have a bunch of points in the tree, right? You shove out a bunch of traps. You grab Trappist to go throw even more traps, right? So you have like 3 different kinds of explosive traps going off, right? Then you also make it so that when you throw those traps, they also shoot out detonating arrows, right? And then, you can also get the spark charge chance on those explosive traps, which then spark charges go off, right? Then you can also get the ballistas, which also will explode if you set it up properly, right? Then you can grab like trap sprinkler, which will give you even more traps on the ground, right? And then you grab like impact trigger, so you can do it with a bow. So every single time you crit or whatever, you do either Dragon Song or Rain of Winter, and then all of a sudden your screen is cancer and you kill your instance.
And with all those hits, we scale poison, right?
I mean, yeah, that's what Joe Isis would do, right?
I love it. For a long time, when you've been playing like your blade dancers, your marksman, and you said this a couple minutes ago, you said like you always have this issue where like your 5th skill is kind of boring. Maybe your 5th skill is Dark Quiver, not because you like it, because you have nothing else. Or like your 5th skill is Shurikens procced off of Shift, not because you like it, but like it happens to do something, whereas nothing else really does anything. And having these new skills for Blade Dancer and Marksman, having Explosive Trap and having Net,
It
like these are
breathes new
things that like
breath into the
they give you
class
more
and-
options. God bless. Finally.
Well, actually, more like it gives us something to do until they eventually rework Flurry and Cinder Strike. That's what it more
or
like.
Cinder Strike.
does,
Cinder
right?
Strike is such a meme.
Yeah.
I've been playing melee flurry, or sorry, ranged flurry, in order to level up a Hail of Arrows build, just like pass some time in the free time.
Yeah.
And I've never intentionally used the flurry bug before, where like you gain ramping attack speed based on
it's
how long your client's been open. But now that I'm cognizant of it, and now that I've been using it, it's so good. Like I knew that bug existed for a long time. I didn't know how to replicate the bug, but I knew it existed. And like, it pops up on Reddit every 6 months.
I just love that. I just love how hard they try to make the game not turn into projectile mania like PoE sometimes gets, right, with like tornado shot and stuff, of how hard that they try to like, oh yeah, like multi-strike, it shoots all these projectiles, but like, they can't shotgun. Oh, they shotgun, but they deal so little damage.
Hey,
oh,
multi-shot's good. Don't you badmouth multi-shot.
Oh, Cinder Strike just does no damage. Oh, Puncture just does no damage. They're trying so hard to make all these projectiles not be good, and then they introduce that bug.
The bug and Blast Rain.
Worse than Path of Exile. It's literally worse than Path of Exile. Yeah.
The bug, sure, like the bug's funny, and I like that I'm playing with the bug.
Such a cool skill. Like
Blast Rain's going to be
I'm ready to play that. Yeah.
This changes how
Like, it's
people
going to
view
be-
Last Epoch. The same way
gonna
that
be the
Rune Master
marksman.
kind of changed
Yeah.
how people viewed Last Epoch. They're like, wow, this is so much faster. You can have like, these no cooldown movement skills. Everything blows up. This is so much faster than the other classes. It makes you feel like, why would I play these other things? Well, I can just play Rune Master instead. Blast Rain, I think, is going to get that same impression. I'm like,
We finally have a way. We finally have something to give to the Toxic Rain Andes.
oh, I would just recommend this for people who want to play Tornado Shot. Right?
Oh yeah. Well,
Like, it kind of scratches the same itch,
Toxic
right?
Rain? Doesn't look like Toxic Rain. It looks like explode. Like it looks like Blast Rain.
Yeah, there you go.
like the name, like, obviously. But now we need RF. We already have RF.
We have 14 skills that are
We have
RF. If you like
14
dealing
different
damage in a
RFs.
circle around your character, Last Epoch is the premier action RPG that you should play.
Or if you don't like dealing damage in a circle, you could play AOD.
All right, so that's our preliminary look at Falconer. We are over an hour for the podcast. I don't know if we want to start like another topic of conversation because we can always just
I think
have
that's good
another
enough.
podcast. But is there anything else that catches your eye right now, Dredd, with like Falconer stuff? Any skills you want to talk about? Like a build? Maybe a build you're looking forward to playing?
I'm gonna like if I play Falconer, I'm gonna play the net trap puncture thing. I'm actually determining whether or not I play that as my season starter or not. By the way, I'm like rolling between that or Warlock, but I am surprised. Even though Falconry is like dominant in the upper half of Falconer and all that, that like Explosive Trap and Net have single-handedly revived my love for Rogue when I didn't have any love for Rogue because I hated the entire class for such a long time. Like it's been years, Barry, since I like looked at a Rogue and I was like, oh, look, that looks fun, right? Oh. Other than like Lethal Mirage, which is like my pet kill, but still, it's like it's just cool to see some love for a class that desperately needs it, right?
I'm a little bit worried about the numbers being too high. I think something's going to get nerfed
obviously.
here. I think there's like some really good scalers. Sure. But in terms of design, I'm really happy with Falcon.
For Explosive
I think it's
Trap,
really good.
I like the way that they went about Explosive Trap because like it looks strong, but then like you look at the mana cost and everything, right? And you're like, yeah, it is strong, but there is a mana cost, right? So you have to like handle it. A lot of these, like there's a lot of points in these trees. You got to have like plus levels. Like they seem balanced for the most part. I think Net Trap is the most balanced of them all, obviously. I think like Net Trap is like just like perfect, I think.
All right.
Perfect balance.
So I've got one more question for you. Like I guess first of all, if I were going to play this right now, if I were going to play a Falcon right now, I would do like something with like Net with Bleed Puncture or Net with Shadow Daggers, one of those two things. Both sound great. Or I just go Spark Charges because I'm a sucker for Spark Charges.
I know you're gonna go Spark Charges. There's no way you don't go Spark Charges.
I think those three things all sound awesome. And then of course like Umbral Blades, Product of Aerial Assault if you want to fall asleep and deal too much damage. But
Wait, we can get Spoon Solution where your dex is like your int is equal to your dex. Then your Spark Charge idea is insane.
I'm worried that you're gonna answer me tongue in cheek with the exact same answer you just gave me. But what's a unique item that you speculate that you think might be added to the game now that we've seen all of Falconer?
Some kind of stupid spear with like 5 gabillion more damage, so they can be like, ha! Two-handed spear Falconer when you guys all said it was gonna be bad. It's like, oh yeah, you forced our hand by
you really think they're gonna unleash like some OP spear that's like.
Yeah, they're literally just gonna do that just to have the last laugh. They're like, oh yeah, you know those nodes at the bottom of the tree? They're terrible, right? Guess what? You're using them anyways.
Is there any chance we could like you can have an additional Falcon, like 2 Falcons, but like they deal 45% less damage?
Yeah, but they don't actually deal 45% less damage.
Like is that gonna exist? What do you think?
I don't like that.
No,
because I like the idea of the solo minion being, because the whole point of all of these extra skills like aerial assault and dive bomb is to make up for the fact you only have 1 minion.
Okay.
So I think I'm fine with it being 1 minion. Now, what I want to do for Falconer, if you give us a unique, give me a unique that essentially it turns the Falcon into like, I don't know, something really stupid.
Don't say toucan.
Wait, what? I mean, wait, no, that's an amazing idea, Perry.
a seagull? Twitch chat like seagulls? All right.
One moment here.
Sure, do you think? The toucan has arrived. No, don't do it.
Wait, what? What are you talking about?
You really want MTX? I mean, MTX to turn into a Falcon. They would make so much money just like selling.
Say,
really?
What did you say?
Do I have to time you out in my own Twitch chat? Good God.
You say?
You're my mod, dude. Don't do that to me.
Praise.
What would I like?
What would you like, Perry?
What would I like?
Spark Charge unique, right? Obviously.
Spark Charges. Let's go. What about... Like, there's so many stats you could already give him, right?
Like, give us an offhand Spark Charge unique that applies Electrify. So it's the offhand, so you can't use it at the same time as the other one. But instead of making Spark Charge do crit, it makes it so that they can apply ailments and like Electrify. I would like that.
Oh, I think cool. A unique item that brings Electrify out of Sentinel and brings it into this?
Yeah. Yeah, or just existing in general. Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense because like it's spark charges, right?
Oh, that's a great
That'd be
idea.
cool.
What I'd like to see is like at the very beginning of this, I talked about falconry. Like at the very minimum, you could have falconry spec, you could have it on your bar, and then you could have it like apply some like buffs for you, like these things.
Yes.
And like I think there's room for like a few more buffs that you could like, have it do for you. Or, like maybe it debuffs the enemy, maybe it's like you can have it fear enemies when you're low health.
It might end up like Rune Master where it just does too much, right? It's just like too much in once. Maybe I'm wrong there, but like I feel like the current package we have for falconry will keep people busy for a while now.
What about like your falcon deals less damage, but it gives you some passive buffs? Like for somebody who like wants to play falcon, but like they don't want to do like the active stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I could see something along those lines being added to the game.
Can we get a unique that turns our falcon into Zizarin?
Someone in chat said, "What about speculation on new affixes or new item types added to the game?" Do you have any thoughts on that?
So you know how there's like fire, like there's like percent damage while wielding a sword or like a bow or whatever.
Sure.
Fire damage percentage while you wield a staff.
You think there's going to be an actual affix that says fire damage while wielding a staff?
No.
What an atrocious affix.
Yeah, I know.
Yikes.
I'm sorry, I'll shut up.
Let's see. I haven't thought about this too much.
We did actually get the Reddit post today. They said a Reddit post about we're getting a post soon about a bunch of different affixes dropping. So
well, we know at least 2 of them so far.
Yeah, we know
that there's like a hybrid. There's like a poison penetration hybrid with minion poison penetration. So like we don't know if that's like ailment specific or maybe that applies to everything. Maybe there's a void with a void minion penetration. Maybe there's a physical with physical minion penetration. We don't know any uniques yet. But we know that there's minion flat damage as a suffix on weapons. So at least 2-handers. I think 1-handers too. We'll see.
You know what's actually funny now that I think about it? It's funny that like net is more of like a gladiator like theme than like the entirety of like all the gladiator stuff and like dancing strikes and the stupid sword.
Oh, wait, I got it. Someone said unique item. Okay, unique item. It's similar to the unique item that I made a video about, like the unique item that I would make if I made one. Just make an offhand catalyst. It's like not a shield, it's a catalyst, but it's a net. Oh, and then it like has it has like net stats and like less damage taken from netted enemies or something. Yeah, give me like a net themed offhand. It's like a defensive catalyst, but it's like not a shield.
That'd be cool.
Give me that.
Yeah. Or like make it so that whenever you hit enemies, you have a chance to net them.
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, that's good. I like that idea.
We call it the net positive.
The net positive. Shut up.
Yeah. Oh no. Okay. It's okay. I have an idea. So you get an offhand, right? That does net stuff. You make it apply spark charges or whatever, right? And you call it the net positive. Like electric charge. Okay.
So that's our episode for the day. If you're watching here live on Twitch, appreciate you being here. If you're watching on YouTube and Spotify after the fact, be sure to let us know where you are watching so we can make sure that you get the best viewing experience possible. We've, for the past 2 podcasts, we've included a large screen here with my mouse. So as we talk about things, we can hover over them and make the viewing experience on YouTube a little bit better. I know that Spotify doesn't get that as well, but Spotify, if you're out there, we think about you. You're in our hearts. We are going to be continuing to do podcasts on a weekly basis now that we're getting closer and closer to the launch of 1.0.
And probably good for a good solid month at the
very least. At the very least. We got a lot of good stuff coming up. Dread, thank you as always for being here. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
And Twitch chat, thank you for joining us. If you're listening live, we will continue to be playing some Last Epoch after the podcast is done. Otherwise, thanks for being here, and we will talk to you next time.
Praise the toucan.
Stop.